Hi, everyone. I'm just going to give everybody a minute to get in from the waiting room. Just wait a little bit longer and get started right at 10 o'clock. All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to today's National NAGPRA Program webinar. My name is Kate Compton-Gore, and I'm the training coordinator here at National NAGPRA Program. I'd like to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded, and a recording of the webinar, which includes a transcript, will be made available on our website after the meeting. Your name and attendance at this webinar will also be recorded. If you wish to not have your name or attendance recorded, you may disconnect at this time. And I still see we have quite a few people trickling in, but I will continue with the introductions. If you've attended any of these webinars recently, you know that we usually disable the Q&A until the end. However, with today's walkthrough of the website, I will keep the Q&A open and pause regularly to answer questions that you may have while I'm on specific areas of the website. We are disabling the chat function, but Audrey Andrews will be putting links into the chat as I move through the website so you can follow along if you want to. Given the size of these webinars, we ask that you not raise your hand or ask live questions. We prefer all questions to come in through the Q&A in written form. Melanie O'Brien, the manager of the National NAGPRA program, and other members of our team will be assisting me with the Q&A. I want to make a quick announcement about our September webinar. Will be NAGPRA resources for lineal descendants, tribes, and NHOs, and that will be presented by our three fellows, Audrey Andrews, Tanner Barney, and Shayla Charlie. And as always, if you're interested in a specific topic or webinar, please put that into the Q&A or send us an email at nagpra_info@nps.gov. Okay, let's get started. I have a PowerPoint that I'd like to start with before we go into the live sharing. Okay. Can everybody see this, or is it showing presenter view? Maybe a thumbs up.
Kate, it's in presenter view.
That's what I thought. Hide presenter view. Okay, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay.
Looks good.
Navigating the National NAGPRA program website. Today, I want to focus on the website and the information that is available. So whether you're part of a museum team, a tribal community, a student, or you're directly involved with NAGPRA compliance, this session was built with you in mind. I'm going to focus on how to navigate the website, how to find the resources you need, and show you some tips and tricks that I have found helpful. The NAGPRA website has a lot of important information, and I want to make sure that you know how to find it. I'll be sharing my screen and walking you through the live site, but I've also prepared a few slides to help anchor what we're doing. As I mentioned before, Audrey Andrews will be following along, putting links into the website in the chat so you can follow along if you choose to. Before we dive into the site itself, I want to take a few minutes to talk about why the National NAGPRA program website is so important. The website is the official federal source for everything NAGPRA related. It holds links to the law, regulations, formal guidance, and links to public notices. If you want to make sure you're following the law or referencing something correctly, this is where you go. The National NAGPRA program website is the policy that guides you through the regulatory process. The goal of the website is to communicate the NAGPRA regulations as clearly and concisely as possible, using language that is easier to understand than the regulations. As you utilize the website, you must keep in mind that in order to comply with the regulations, you will have to go beyond the website and into the actual regulations. And I'll show you an example of this. Compliance, remember, is with the law and the regulations. The website is an essential tool for compliance, accountability, and transparency. And finally, it supports better collaboration. When everyone, museums, agencies, and tribes have access to the same information, it helps build trust, encourages communication, and prevents missteps. So I will be navigating to the website nps.gov/NAGPRA. Please keep in mind that there is a second web page. I call it a second web page, and it can be confusing when you're trying to get to the main site if you land on the other one. And I'll show you the two and explain the differences. But I have circled here today which website I'll be focusing on. If you navigate to nps.gov/national NAGPRA, you'll find the website about the National NAGPRA program. This is about what we do. And there are a few useful tabs containing information like official news, releases, and events. And also keep in mind that the What We Do page links back to the main website for the Act itself and the regulations. So again, I refer to this as the second. It's really not the second website, it's the other website. This one specifically about our program. And then the next one, which is the one I'll be focusing on today, nps.gov/NAGPRA. NAGPRA is the site that holds the Act and the information on the regulations. And here's where I'm going to be focusing on today. So once you're on the main page, you can begin to find information here on the tabs, or you can scroll down to the topics. The way I navigate the site is when I know what I'm looking for, I use the tabs. But if you want a more generalized approach to getting started, how do you comply with NAGPRA? What happens if a museum fails to comply? What events are happening? The review committee and other information, you can scroll down, which I'll show in a moment, to this more generalized area. And what you're looking for and why you're on the site might depend on how you choose to search. Okay, I think I'm going to start showing the live website. Give me a moment while I stop sharing my PowerPoint. Okay, can everyone see the website? Okay, great. All right, so here is the webpage, the nps.gov/NAGPRA. So when you start here, you'll see a number of tabs at the top of the page. And then if you scroll down, oops, excuse me, home. I'm going to start with the home page. If you start here on the home page, you'll see these tabs at the top. But if you scroll down, you'll see in the page that these match the tabs at the top: getting started, compliance, enforcement, and so on. And so when I mentioned, I'm going to scroll not too fast, but at the bottom of this page, you can link back to the program website, the other one that is about the program and who we are. So the idea of the website is that they link back and forth to each other, and the information links back. So if you like the visual idea of these tabs here, for example, you can click on Getting Started here, or you can click on Getting Started on the menu bar. For today's demonstration, I'm going to stick to clicking on the menu bar. So we started with the home page. This is where you can start. This is how you can choose to search. We click on Getting Started. So again, when you click on these tabs, they have drop downs. You can click on the tab itself. And what will happen is the Getting Started page, if you click on Getting Started, it will take you to everything that's going to be available on this tab. And then you can choose to go to the drop downs if you like. So you can start with I need help with. This is a really good way to kind of, if you're not sure what you're doing or what you need help with and where to start, you can go here and you can click on these different ID topics, and they're going to link you to the different areas of the site. Frequently asked questions. This is a really good place to start, especially if you're new to NAGPRA, or you have staff that comes in, or you're perhaps putting together a training for a board or the public, or you just want more of the top of the funnel information. There's a lot of good question and answers here. There are also some definitions here, but we do have a glossary, a larger page with definitions. But this top level getting started, frequently asked questions can often help with a lot of basic questions that you have. If you click on the reference library, so I'm going to spend a moment going over the glossary. So this is also in 10.2. 10.2 of the regulations, I believe, has the definitions. The definitions are also here, and this can be very helpful. I'll just give you an example. The other day, we had a museum email us about human remains. And what were human remains? And so if you look up human remains under NAGPRA, it's any physical part of a Native American individual. And so that right there can help you understand what the definitions are under NAGPRA. And this can be helpful if you're having trouble understanding a definition, maybe perhaps in your museum setting and you use it differently and you want to see how it's applied under the regulations. You can look here. Okay, reference library. I'm going to skip over training for a moment and go to consultation resources. This is a very underutilized part of the website, but there's a bunch of information. So up here at the top of this, we have the NAGPRA contacts database that we update. These other databases we don't update, but you can see we did post when this one was last updated. There are a couple of other resources that I think are going to be really helpful for you all today. Resources for identifying consulting parties. We get asked a lot about how do I start, and we often will say, well, you can start with the information you have available. If you don't know where the collection came from, then you can start with the geographical location of where your collection is located. And I'm going to show you a nifty tool here. So if you go to this tribal directory assessment tool, there's a map, and I'm going to type in my zip code of where I am currently. And this will list the county that I'm in and all the tribes with interests in Coconino County. Now, I'm not actually sure who updates this or how it's updated, but I can tell you that this is going to be a very helpful way of at least figuring out who you need to start consulting with. And then if we go back to the search here, let's click on Oregon. So I'm a museum, I'm in Oregon, and the only information I have is that I'm in, let's pick a county, Hood River County. Here are the list of tribes. And so this is a very helpful database for when you're trying to figure out who to consult with. Another one I want to show you is the Tribal Treaties database, and this will be utilized depending on your museum, your agency, and what your NAGPRA information is. But this database is wonderful. I've actually gone down the rabbit hole of this database. There's a lot of wonderful information. You can click here on treaties, and it starts with a list of the treaties and the signatures, the people involved. Or you can go here to tribes, and you can search by tribes. And so if you know one of the tribes that you're working with, then you can go straight here and read about the treaties that are associated. So again, this is very helpful. I think that people don't realize some of the information that is found in here. I'm just going to back out all the way. Okay. And then this page, again, we are in this consultation resources page. You can scroll down here. There are some other resources. There's a presentation that Melanie gave not too long ago about working with CalNAGPRA and NAGPRA together. There's a link to the NAGPRA community of practice. Again, we recommend if you're having questions and it's something that it's not regulatory specific or it's outside of the NAGPRA regulations, the community of practice is a wonderful resource, and there are a lot of regional groups. So there's just quite a bit of information in here. So the last piece on the getting started that I want to focus on today is the training. We have a lot of training available, but I think that maybe people don't realize where everything is or the difference. So if you go to our training page, there is a piece here that says many of these trainings are developed under the previous regulatory framework and some references may be outdated, but the content and information is still relevant. And that's what I want to show you today. So the training seminars was a grant with the National Preservation Institute. And so these trainings were posted in 2023 and go through a variety of topics. And These are, in fact, a lot of our friends and colleagues are in these videos. Eric Hemingway, Jan Bernstein, and a lot of other people give the trainings that go into kind of the deep background of NAGPRA, how it started. And so these are great, especially if you're new or you have new staff. And then if you scroll down here, the videos that were produced in 2010 are extremely relevant. And in fact, in May of 2024, our May 2024 webinar with Melanie O'Brien discussed in detail these videos and what information is in them. And so also in, and why they're still relevant. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. We have this is the only video that was not produced by the National NAGPRA program or at least under a grant about the medical examiner, but usually they're just produced by the program and our partners. But if you go here to events, the events page. So again, this links back to our events page. And let's see, May 2024. So here is the one that Melanie went into this comparison of how the 2010 videos are still relevant. And there's actually a document that she created that shows the language and how similar it is. So the language in red is after the updated regulations. You can see there's not a lot of change. So the point I wanted to make is that these 2010 videos are still very relevant. And in fact, to show you all today, I'm going to stop sharing in a moment, and Melanie is going to show just a snippet of one of these videos from 2010 and why I think you should all go and take advantage of watching these. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then after we watch the short video clip, then we will open up the first Q&A. Thank you, Melanie.
And it's really helped me to gain empathy for understanding belief systems that are not my own. And that's what's really, I think, important in a struggle with this, is that I've heard so many times people say, well, what's the big deal? If it were my grandmother, I wouldn't care. Well, the big deal is it's not your grandmother, it's someone else's grandmother, and they do care. You know, and so I think building empathy and cross-cultural understanding has been pretty pivotal for me.
The last reburial I did was January. We just got the remains back. It was from a disposition. And I was like, oh man, I don't want to have these hanging out in my office all winter, you know? So I got my snowshoes on and threw them on my back, you know, and I had the shovel and I was like trekking through the woods, and it's like, I hope the ground's unfroze. If not, I'm gonna have to start a fire. But luckily, I started digging, the ground was unfrozen. You know, it's just like, cool, you know, you feel really good. You know, you're reburying, and the remains were all kids, you know, just like little itty-bitty skulls, and just little guys, you know. And they're from right down where I grew up in Mackinac City, which is like 20 miles from Cross Village. So this is like real personal. And it's like felt really good, you know, it's like I did something good today. You know, this is like something I can be proud of. I call my mom and she's all happy. And tell other people. I was like, oh, that's a good thing. So.
Thank you, Melanie, for bringing up those clips. So I just wanted you all to kind of get a little snippet of why these videos are still relevant. We're having the same conversations today. And I think that they're very powerful, especially if you're having trouble communicating NAGPRA with anyone, or you just want to kind of refresh yourself. So I'm going to pause for a moment. Let's, if I could get some assistance with the Q&A, we can see if we have a couple of questions in there. Okay. So the first question is, thank you for the presentation, but when you say backslash, I think you just mean slash or forward slash. Thank you. Okay. Yes, I think I always say back, but you know, when you look, you're right. Okay. So let's see, next question. I found contact information for some tribes on TDAT to be outdated, so it's good to go to the tribal website. Most of them have a point of contact for NAGPRA. Great, thank you for that information. I will definitely take note of that myself. Okay, those are all of the open questions we have right now, so I will continue through. Okay. I believe I'm not in presenter mode. All right. Okay, so we just walked through the compliance tab. Excuse me, the getting started tab. So I'm going to go to compliance. Now, this is a really good example of when I was talking about policy, and policy is to create language that is a little bit easier to understand. So if you click, for example, on the protection of federal and tribal lands, the disposition arm of NAGPRA, if you click on discovery and excavation, this is going to take you to an example of that shorter version. It's going to give you the information that you need and give you the links as to where to go to get it, but you need to go beyond the website to ensure that you're complying all the way fully. Let's go down to the disposition of human remains. Again, it will go in. And so if you're on the website and you're going through some of these pages and you're wondering why it's not complete, it's because, again, this is to help guide you for when you do go back to the regulations to make that process simpler by allowing the website to help you. And I know that the last webinar Melanie gave, she brought up this unclaimed human remains or cultural items database, and I know that was very helpful, so I wanted to show it all to you again today. If we click here again, so through this tab, it will take you to the basic information. So I hope that that's helpful in understanding kind of the way that this web page is set up. Notices and statements. So you can click, and then from here you can go to, now this is actually helpful because here it tells you what type of notice for what. So for example, if you're doing human remains and cultural items, then on federal or tribal lands, then that's disposition. If you're doing repatriation, it will tell you the two different types you need for the different types of repatriation that you're doing, and then what must be done, and what happens if something changes. And so there are the bits of information in here that can help answer some of your questions. We get this one a lot. What happens if something changes after publication of a notice? So that's why sometimes if you know what you're looking for, so if you know that you're working with a repatriation of human remains, then you know that you can go and focus on this particular dropdown. Okay, so our enforcement page will take you to all the information that you need for criminal provision, civil provision, civil penalties. You can click on these various types of allegations, failure to comply, and how you send those in and the information that is in there under the enforcement. And then you can click specifically go onto civil penalties. And a lot of your questions can be answered here. But again, as always, if there are ever questions you have on any information, please email us at our info email. We're always available. So if you are having trouble, please continue to use that resource. So I'm going to pause again for a moment before I'll be spending quite a bit more time in law and policy, but before I continue, let's look. There are no questions in the Q&A. Okay. Law and policy is where I spend the majority of my time, and I would imagine that most of you will spend a lot of time on this page. So again, you can click on the main law and policy. If you click right on law and policy, it'll take you to everything that's available in the drop downs. And there's one thing I want to start on here is this. If you scroll down a little bit, it will go into the law, regulation, and policy. And so again, the website is the policy, and the policy was written to mirror the regulations and provide language that was easier to understand, to interpret the regulations. And so, as I have mentioned over and over again, some of the web pages have shorter versions than what's available in the regulations. So this is similar to our guidance documents. The guidance documents are fantastic. If you click here on guidance documents, it'll take you to policy. So I'm going to back up for a minute. You click on law and policy, and you can go straight to policy. Click on policy itself, not one of the drop downs. This again is often forgotten. You can click straight on these main tabs. So under the main policy page, under law and policy, and if you get lost, you can follow this up here, and here you are home, law and policy. These are our guidance documents. And I've mentioned that I like the steps to repatriation is my favorite document. It's kind of a fun thing that you can pin up on your computer or your desk, have next to you, that will help you get basic information that you can then go to the regulations and get all of it. Our duty of care facts is again a fantastic document. There is so much information here on duty of care, discusses what's research, what do I do if I have items that are on loan from at another institution. So don't forget that these guidance documents are in here. So here, these are the guidance documents for the steps. And sometimes people get confused so we have the templates for the steps. These are the guidance documents for the steps. So step 1, itemized list. What I love about this one, I'm going to scroll here for a minute, forgive me, is at the top of the itemized list, it tells you what you need to have, and then it gives you an example. So this and a link to the template itself. So this example is also in the template for the itemized list. There's a link here, but if you scroll down, and this is a hypothetical situation. So this is the question that related to boxes. What do I do if I have boxes and I don't know what's in them? So Melanie and the team created these documents to answer a lot of these hypothetical questions that you have. So that's a good one. Again, here's another one for initiating consultation with a link to the template. And keep in mind that you have to make sure you're on the recent template. So whenever you open up a template document, just check the date on top. But this goes into some good questions about what is consultation? What do I need to do? What if I don't get a response? So lots of helpful information in these guidance documents. And then you can kind of click through the rest of these guidance documents, and then you can also get to our databases, templates, and reports. So each page links back and forth and around, which is very helpful. And if you ever just get lost, you can just go back to the home page. So we started on this page is the law. So you can click on this and read the law. The regulations, I spend a lot of time here. What I like is that you can go into the final rule that has all of the comments. And oftentimes, and if you scroll through this, you can go to all of the comments that came in and the responses to the comments. And at the end of this document are the regulations. And what's wonderful about this is that often a lot of how we answer your questions that come into the info box can be found in these comments and questions. So I recommend PDFing this one, printing this one out, but then you can also have the shortcut to the regulations directly. And this is great because it can take you straight to where you want to go. I recommend everybody refresh themselves on 10.1, 10.2, and 10.3. I think most people just go down to the area that if it's disposition or repatriation, but this information in 10.2 has all of the definitions and in detail. And then the final rule. So I was looking up recently, I wanted to see how the regulations language has changed on a specific topic. So as you know, 1990 NAGPRA was passed. The first regulations weren't published until 95. And then you can go through and see how the language has changed. If you have something specific, you can go and look through the corrections and the changes through the years. A lot of information about Congress, actions that have been taken. So again, you can really go down deep into the regulatory process and the regulations. Okay, so back to this policy page. So here you can access our databases for inventories, summaries, and notices. I won't click on these, but well, I'll click on one. So when you click on our databases page, you get a new set of tabs for the different databases. And I believe next webinar in September, we will spend quite a bit more time here in the databases. Program reports, templates, excuse me. This is a great page. I spend a lot of time here. Protection, and again, you can decide if you're working in the disposition arm, repatriation, and then you can go through the steps. And keep in mind that these templates, we don't have a template for everything, but that doesn't mean you need to wait. So you don't have to have a template for these steps, but these are here to help you. We do, as we are going to be posting new ones or templates we're working on, we'll post them here and you can see that they're coming. If you have specific questions, please email us. So for example, this request for extension, we've been getting questions about this topic. And so if you have them already, feel free to send us an email to the NAGPRA_info_NAGPRA@nps.gov. Did I just get that backwards? But that's on the PowerPoint presentation that will be posted. And program reports. Again, additional information with the type of reporting that the National NAGPRA program does. Okay, let's see. I'm going to stop and see. I've got 2 questions in the Q&A. Under notices, the fiscal year 92 and 93 listings do not link to a notice since they are not posted on federalregister.gov. Could the program upload those files? Melanie, could you assist me with this one?
Yeah, absolutely, Kate. Hi, everybody. So we've been working on a solution to that, and I'd need to go and check. We do have those links to they don't link to federalregister.gov. They link to gpo.gov and the copy of the Federal Register from those publications. It's been a while since I looked at how we put that on the website. So let me just pull that up and I can respond in just a minute.
Thank you, Melanie. And I think for the second question also, I'm going to have someone on the team assist me with this one as well. I think the question is to add a link to this page on the website.
I see that. You can find that link in our program reports. We include the link to the current year for that program report because, of course, these links will change as we post new year's data. You can always just go to tableau.com and search for NAGPRA or National NAGPRA and find that. There are many ways to track that link, but the program reports, the page that Kate is showing right now, actually, the link is in each of those to the Tableau page. Again, perhaps we could add a link there on the reports page. Kate, it won't be in 2017. We didn't have the Tableau, so it won't be in that one. But we could see about adding that here.
Okay, and are we still waiting on the one answer to the question?
Yeah, so I just looked. It's still a technical issue that we're having with how the data is pushed out to the web page. we will have to get our IT guys to take another look at that. I know we fixed it on our internal system, but it's not pushing out to the web page correctly for the 92 notices. So it gives you a link, but the link is broken. It doesn't go anywhere. I will say that we won't post those to our website for multiple reasons. Well, for many reasons, we won't be posting them to our website, but we will try to get the link for GPO for those pages. But you can also find them yourselves. We'd also be happy to share the links with anyone who asks.
Okay, thank you, Melanie, and thank you for your questions. I will continue on. Okay. The review committee. So I think this is another underutilized tab in the web page. So if you click on the top here, a review committee, this is really great to help remind you of what the review committee is, who they are, what they do, and what they're responsible for. So we have links to the members, the meetings, the report to Congress. And so you can get to all of this as always by clicking in this page. You can go to it here, membership history and subcommittees. So you can link through who all has served on the review committee. Meetings. Again, so the meetings, I believe there have been 90 meetings. And in each meeting, I'm just going to click in here. In each meeting, you can click in, oh, this one we don't have, it's too soon, excuse me, I'll go to 2024. So you can click in here into each of these meetings, and that will take you to this page to download the links. So you can download the minutes, the transcript, the agenda, the materials, and the video. The transcript, when you click on these transcripts, sometimes there are 2 or 3 transcripts per meeting. And actually, this is something that I think is incredibly useful. If you have, I had a research topic that I was interested in seeing how many times this specific topic had been discussed in review committee meetings. And so I downloaded every single transcript and was able to search that information. And I think oftentimes if you've attended a number of review committee meetings, you'll probably have your own topics that you've noticed continuously or that are brought up over and over. And so I really think that by downloading the transcripts and searching, word searching in those can be helpful to look at some of the shifting discussions in the review committee meetings. If you've never attended a meeting, then again, I definitely suggest that you at least check out, maybe go back quite a few years and read the transcripts from one of those and kind of compare it. I think it's fascinating to go through these. All right. Reports to Congress are located in here, so you can click on this and see the reports to Congress. And then there's requests and recommendations. So we have disposition recommendations, findings of fact and dispute process. So this is, again, other information that you can find if you're interested, and your designated federal official contact. So there are various amounts of information in here. So again, I think you should definitely take advantage of this review committee tab as well. Let's see, grants page. So this is a wonderful document to help you know what grants are available, what the opportunities they are, previous grant awards. You can click in here and it will take you to a list of everybody that's received these awards and the amount. You can click on here and this takes you to the recent year for 2024. There's also information on the NOFOs, let's see, let me go into here, grants. grant opportunities. There's consult, so we have two types of grants, repatriation grants and consultation documentation grants. It will discuss here briefly, so some of the basic, again, this top level for the questions, who is eligible, what are the activities eligible. You can go onto grants.gov to look for the funding opportunity, the deadline. So there's a lot of information on here. Consultation documentation grants tells you a little bit about those. Repatriation grants are ongoing, non-competitive, and it discusses those. And so again, there's a lot of information on here on these types. There's also a tab here for accessing, modifying, reporting on awards if you want to look there. So at this point, I did not spend a lot of time on the templates specifically. The last two webinars, well, let's see. Well, I gave webinars a couple of months ago that really did a deep dive into summaries and inventories, and then I went through these templates in that. But again, if you have information on the templates, we do get a lot of questions about this page, so please let us know. I think at this point, I'm going to stop sharing. Oh, I do want to take you to the other website. I don't think we did this one. This is the national.
Kate, just before you do that, I'm just going to jump in. There was a question I answered about templates, and I thought this was a good chance to reiterate the answer there. Somebody asked if there was a way to find out if a new template is uploaded to the website, and we recommend an RSS feed for that. And I posted just a general information page about what RSS feeds are and why you would maybe want to use that as a way of finding if anything gets added to the website. But templates, you can sign up, you can set up an RSS feed for any web page. And so you could do that for the templates page. And then anytime something new is posted, you would get an email. In addition to that, in the chat, I posted an Excel document that has the GPO links for the 18 notices that were published between 1992 and 1993. We'll see if we can't find a way to place that somewhere on our website. Unfortunately, we probably won't be able to add that to the notice page, but we'll see if we can't find some way to post that in the interim while we still continue to fix this link problem we have.
Thank you. Let's see, I was going to stop sharing. I can always share again my screen as more people may have questions about navigating the website. Let's see, we don't have any questions. Are there any documents or any areas of the website that anyone would like me to revisit for a moment? And the PowerPoint that I will be, and if there is, please put that into the Q&A. And the PowerPoint that will be uploaded will just be a kind of a refresher of what I did today, some of the ways that you can navigate the site, the two different sites. There are a few more pages that I did not, or excuse me, slides that I did not include today as I was doing the live. Let's look at the Q&A. I have relied on the Federal Register website as an archive of past notices. Is that unwise?
Absolutely not. That's a great source. There are many actually advantages to using the federalregister.gov as your source for NAGPRA notices. You can do full text searches. If you type NAGPRA and then whatever it is you're looking for, a county, a tribe, even a certain type of object, you can use that full text search function on federalregister.gov to do a lot of things. For those of you that may be more tech savvy, federalregister.gov has full API, meaning that you can extract data on NAGPRA notices. So there's a whole lot of utility to the federalregister.gov. For institutional record keeping purposes, part of the Federal Register is a permanent record keeping as the permanent publication of the federal government. However, for your institution, you may want to preserve a copy of that published notice. But certainly federalregister.gov is a record repository for the federal government. We at the National NAGPRA program also keep permanent records of notices that are published. So there's quite a bit of redundancy when it comes to record keeping for Federal Register. I will say that we have the notices on our webpage and the links to those primarily because it ease of use, but also that is a past practice of the National NAGPRA program. But again, the official source for that notice publication is the Federal Register itself. So absolutely, that is the best source.
The other question was about the timeline steps. I will go navigate to that. Audrey, would you mind putting that link in the chat as well so people can grab that? So let me share my screen. Okay, so the steps, I believe that you're referring to the guidance documents, which are under policy. So law and policy, and then under the policy tab, but you can also access it just from this main header, law and policy. And you can click on guidance, or you can go here. So the duty of care facts, and I believe this is the steps to repatriation document that you were referring to. This colorful one that also has the timelines. Okay, let's see. Doesn't look like we have any more Q&A. One thing I think I know I mentioned the difference between the website is policy and the regulations, but I do recommend that you go to the regulations page and download these or PDF these and bookmark, of course, everything. In the PowerPoint, I actually have some of the main links that I recommend everybody bookmark so that or put them on your favorites so that you're not constantly searching. Let's see. Looks like there's a question in the Q&A. Can you confirm that museums can support tribes by starting a template? Not doing it for them, but supporting their requests by moving towards repatriation. I would say that absolutely, if the tribe would like you to help assist completing those templates to take the burden off the tribe, that is, of course, something that you could choose to do. That is not something that we have these templates for everybody to be able to use to make the process smoother and easier for everybody. And I've noticed too, I had mentioned that as the questions change, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do this website tour is because we've noticed that some of the questions coming in are going back to the helpfulness of using this website. But again, as we move through the NAGPRA process, we are seeing these questions shift. We're getting into some very kind of deep thoughtful questions that are coming in that really I wanted to kind of remind everybody about the resources available as we go through this. I think I spend my entire day using this website, knowing what's on it. But for most of you out there who have a lot of other responsibilities, I know it can be daunting or confusing. So I hope that this was helpful for everybody to know how they can utilize the resources that we have available. I'm going to stop sharing again. I don't see any more Q&A. If we don't get any more in a few moments, I might wrap it up, and then we will post the video recording and the PowerPoint that I created. And don't forget to join us next month. I think it's going to be a very, very wonderful webinar that is focused on assisting tribes and helping show everybody and tribes how they can utilize the databases to access information. Okay, well, Melanie, if you don't have anything else, I think we can stop the webinar.
Yep, that's great. Thank you so much, Kate. Wonderful job. Thank you, everyone who attended. We appreciate your time, and we hope it was helpful. Thank you, and have a great weekend.